Thanks for joining me today. I've designed for you a class that will give you a full body experience with a focus on strength, flexibility, and balance. So let's jump in and get started. Go ahead and, if you haven't already done that, come into your comfortable seated posture. And let's just settle for a couple of minutes before we start our moving. So just be with yourself for a few moments here and just feel what's going on inside. And get a sense of that internal alignment as you know how to do. And you're feeling those sits bones underneath, right at the bottom. And you feel a little length against that downward pressure. Little lift in your heart. It's nice to feel a little broadening through these collarbones. So just have this lovely alignment for a few moments and then shift your focus to your breathing. Nice, long, slow breaths. And just notice how that subtle focus on your breathing may start to shift things for you so that however you are feeling, focusing on the breath puts a whole new dimension on every present moment. So that's what we're trying to do. We're trying to really have a mindfulness on each and every moment that you're practicing yoga. And hopefully that will continue on in other aspects of your life as well. Nice, long, slow breaths. And you've got that breath to a 6 count with the inhale and the exhale by now. And just have 3 more breaths, just like that, as long as slow as you can. Really feeling the effects of each and every inhale. And each and every exhale. And then opening your eyes if they are in fact shut. Continue to breathe just like that. And prepare yourself so that when you inhale next, you can just reach your arms up over the head, nice and wide and then long, reaching up. And take that moment for the next inhale where you can really press into the sits bones and outward through the fingertips. And release on an exhale. Just make it nice and soft and gentle as you reach your arms down. You're going to end up with the hands right to your heart. Namaste. And now we're just going to start in an extended child's pose from here. So you might want to widen your knees just a little bit and put your big toes together. If that's comfortable for you, just give that a try. And you're just trying to set your hips right back down towards your heels. Your arms are reaching, so your head is probably not going to touch the floor. There'll be a little space underneath your armpits. What you're trying to do right now is actually just extend and stretch through the arms, but also extend and stretch through the spine. And then start to put a little more pressure onto each palm and maybe lift the opposite side of your chest just a little bit. Tiny little minute movements. And still breathing long, slow breaths. Very nice. And then just with a little more focus on your fingertips, you're going to come in with your finger points to the floor, little teepee fingers. maybe crawl them another millimeter further away from you and really get the best stretch you can get right here. And then slowly on an exhale, we're going to walk those finger points over to the right, and then you're going to release on the exhale, just to enjoy that little side bend for a couple of breaths. And really notice all sensations that are happening in the body right now. After a couple of breaths, we're going to come back on an inhale, walking back the fingertips to center again. Enjoy that extension for a moment. And then when you exhale, you're going to walk fingertips over to the left now. And on the next exhale, you're going to try to release a little bit into that side bend. So just let the body warm up and wake up nice and gradually. And then on the next inhale, we're going to all come back to center here. Enjoy that lovely stretch. And just for a little challenge now, we're going to try to come up with the strength of our core. And so really on the exhale, progressive abdominal contraction as you round the spine, and you're just tracing those fingers right back towards your knees, towards your thighs. Just like a little cat stretch here. Come on up to the extended position. And then let's go ahead and step right into tabletop position. So put your hands underneath your shoulders. You know what to do. Knees under your hips. And have that little focus on hand placement. So your weight is coming right into the roots of your fingers and slightly into the inner hands a little more. So even in tabletop position, it's a toning pose for your arms and for the whole body. Trying to get some length here. So you're looking down, the crown of your head is going a little bit energetically towards the wall in front of you, and your tailbone is going towards the wall behind you. And once you get that, let's begin cat-cow. So you're going to inhale, and you're going to lift the heart, lift the tailbone. Notice if you focus a little more on those inner hands as you press in, you might be able to get a little more out of cow pose. And then as you exhale, progressive abdominal contraction, rounding the spine. You know what to do. Chin comes towards the chest and tailbone tries to tuck under. And just enjoy rolling back and forth like that on your own breathing pattern. So you're inhaling, of course, into the cow position. And then you're exhaling into the cat position. And you're making this your own just by following your own breath. So the movement follows your breathing pattern. As fast or slow as you're breathing, that's how fast or slow your movement is. And then let's all shift to cat-cow wheel. So it's on your exhale that you do that. As you begin to round the spine the next time, you can go ahead and sit back right towards your heels. And just enjoy the complete end of that exhale as you sink down. As you inhale, you just look forward a little bit and you pull the floor towards you, taking a little bit more strength into your arms as you roll the torso right through the arms, back into the cow position. So you're still getting that lovely spinal movement, but of course you're adding a little more into the arms and legs to do the cat-cow wheel. So again, on your own breathing, let's have a few breaths just like this. And your awareness is really tuned into everything that's happening as far as sensations. Just notice everything. And so that the next time you are in the extended extended child's position on an exhale with hips towards the heels. Just pause there for a moment. And maybe reach your fingertips just a little bit further ahead. And now we're going to, on an inhale, come all the way into a modified upward facing dog. So you've got just a little bit more ground to cover here. On your inhale phase, you're pulling the floor towards you. Your elbows are pointing straight down. They're not pulling out to the sides. You take as much weight as you'd like into your arms as you come all the way through with your hips forward and bringing your breastbone upward and broadening your collarbones. And there's upward facing dog. On the exhale, really draw the navel in and up as you come all the way back to that extended child's position. Just have a few breaths like this now, covering just a little more ground with each and every breath, so it helps to lengthen it as much as you can. And hopefully you're really starting to feel not just the spine, but the whole body start to warm up a little bit more. Lovely, so that the next time you exhale, you can sink back down into your extended child's pose. And slowly walk your hands back again. Put the knees together if they've separated, back into tabletop position. Very nice. And in your tabletop position, on your next inhale, I want you to bring that right leg back. Press it back. So you really feel the length and the strength in that back leg. Just add a little balance aspect and even more lengthening and strengthening. We're going to reach the left arm forward. Now, if that's a little too much for your right wrist, you know you can keep the left arm down. Otherwise, you're really thinking about lengthening to either direction. You want to feel that the spine, or rather the mid-waist on either side, is equal length. And of course, the longer you hold it, the more challenging it gets. Try to hold it until you do feel the challenge. Maybe you can have one more long, slow breath in spite of the challenge, and then release. Very nice. And just have a little spinal movement in between sides, and maybe shake out that supporting wrist. Coming back to your tabletop position. And this time we're going to inhale the left leg back, press out through the heel, and feel that length. If all is well, then you can stretch out the right arm as well. The palm is facing inward here, looking right down. And maybe think about that right ear and the right upper arm being sort of even with each other. So you're not trying to go high. You remember, you're trying to go long. And just have a couple more long, slow breaths. And see if you can really acquire a sense of enjoying the challenge when you start to feel this challenge to your strength and balance. And slowly release when you need to. Very nice. And then put your hands one hand length further ahead. Flex the toes under, and let's all push into a downward facing dog. Oh, and if it's the first one you've done today, just go ahead and ease into it nice and gradually. Maybe a little pedaling on the spot. You know what to do. Hopefully this feels really good. And let's all step our feet a little bit closer to our hands, a foot or two, and wider. So your feet are probably the outside your mat a little bit, maybe touching the floor. The soles of the feet are touching the floor. And then go ahead and bring your hands wherever they're comfortable, generally a little bit closer together, and possibly even traction them back an inch or two towards your feet. The idea is to be able to feel the weight going right through your heels. from your hips to your heels, so it feels like a heaviness here. You can really settle the weight, and you feel a stretch even in the arms. So just notice that this is a stretch that you can absolutely control. Let your head and neck relax and just play with it a little bit, maybe walking the fingertips slightly further away, and just see, can you get your spine a little bit longer? Can you move a little bit side to side? It's fine to just play with this a little bit. Oh, and then when you inhale, a very, very subtle little movement. As you inhale, you lengthen just slightly through the front body. So you press into the heels and the heart comes up just a little bit. And then when you exhale, you feel a little abdominal contraction, and you release a little more downward. Just have a couple breaths like that. Tiny little movements make such a difference as you begin to open up and warm up the body. Exhaling, release. And inhaling, slightly let the heart look forward just slightly, and release. Very nice. And then let's go ahead, you can bring your hands back a little more if you'd like, but let's go ahead and really, on the next exhale, press into that right sole of the foot from heel to toe. You're really pressing down, bending the knee, shifting your weight into that, over that right leg. And so the left leg is going to, you're going to get a nice stretch on the inside of that left leg as you lean over into the right. We're going to do this nice and slow so you really get the movement as you inhale back to center here with the hips. And as you exhale, you're shifting your weight over the left leg. Nice little bend in the knee. And make sure that you don't come up on the ball of the foot. You want that left heel pressed down to the floor, and you're stretching the inside of that right leg now, the inseam of that right leg. Lovely. And then inhale back. And just do that a couple more times on your own breath. So a little bit quicker it will be as you exhale. Just bend the right knee. Sink your weight over towards the right, over that right leg. Inhaling back to center. And then exhaling right over towards the left leg. Just like that, one more repetition. Very good. Lovely. And then let's go ahead and come back to our classic downward facing dog. So the feet have to go back a little bit, a little closer together, and stretch into your downward facing dog. Very nice. As you inhale, let's go ahead and come into a plank pose. So you know what to do. The thighs are nice and strong. Upper arms are really strong. Core is really strong. And then as you inhale, come on back to a really strong downward facing dog. One more time, we're going to come into the plank pose. As you inhale, come forward into plank. And slowly as we exhale, we're going to go right to the floor. So knees can touch the floor. Use your arm strength a little bit and ease yourself right down to the floor. So here we are, ready to do just a little bit of small back bends now. So once you get there, have a breath. Placing the hands right by the shoulders. I'm going to do a couple of the low cobras now. So roll those shoulders up, back and down. Make sure the legs are in the right position as you're ready. Here we go. As you inhale, lifting the heart, tractioning the elbows back just a little bit. Come up as high as you'd like, comfortably, and then exhale back down again. Couple more breaths like that as you inhale, lifting the heart. And let those hands just lightly traction back. And exhale, release. And inhale, breathing up. And exhale, releasing down. Lovely. And then pushing into the hands, we have to use our arm strength now to come back up again. Come right back into a little pose of a child. You can fold your arms and rest your head on top of the hands. I want you to direct your breathing right into your low back. Breathe nice, long, slow breaths. We're just warming up, so of course you don't want to stay here very long. Coming on back up after you've had about 3 breaths or so. Coming into the position for downward facing dog, you're just raising your hands 1 hand length further ahead than your shoulders, flexing the toes under, and coming into downward facing dog. Have a few breaths and just perfect your downward facing dog. You know you want the weight into the inner hands a little more. Make sure that's happening. And we're just going to have a little practice at the step through now. As you inhale, you're going to reach the right leg back into your tripod dog. We're not going to actually step through. We're going to use our strength. As you exhale and bend the knee, you're feeling your core engage. You're feeling your upper arms engage as if they're trying to come closer to each other isometrically. And you try to touch that right knee towards your right elbow. And then you can inhale, stretch it on back. And try to enjoy as much of an extension here in the spine and the neck as you can. Really tough as you exhale. We're going to try that again. Remember, you want the arms to really be engaged. As you start to bend the knees, step through and the core is engaged. Remember to bring those arms isometrically closer together. This time the right knee is going to come over and try to touch the left elbow. And then inhale back. One more time as you exhale. Come straight under. Nice strong arms as that right knee attempts to touch towards the right elbow. And then you're going to inhale, stretch out one more time. As you exhale, bring that foot back to the floor again. And the next exhale, bring the knees down. Nice brief little pose of a child. One fist on top of the other. Rest your forehead. Have just a couple long, slow breaths. So here we go. We're going to do the other side now. So come into the position of the downward facing dog. Push into your downward facing dog. Have a breath. And inhaling. Next, the left leg goes back. And as you exhale, you know what to do. You're really holding those arms so they're strong. It's like you're trying to grab onto a big beach ball between your elbows, and the left knee goes towards the left elbow. And you inhale, stretch back out again. As you exhale, you're sweeping through again. This time the left knee goes towards the right elbow. And then you inhale, stretch back out again. And exhaling again, left knee comes towards the left elbow. And then you inhale, stretch out again. On the exhale, right down. The foot comes back to the classic downward facing dog. Very good. And now we're really going to do it. We're going to step through. So as you inhale, reach that right leg back. And as you exhale, as best you can, remember strong arms, strong core, and just see how far you go there. Stepping through into a high lunge. And gently just drop that back knee into a low lunge. Now you can drop the back foot or you can flex the foot, whichever is most comfortable. We're going to go ahead and come right into the hands right behind the front knee. See how that feels. If all is well, exhale, release the arms. Inhale, reach the arms up. Feel the length, and exhale, let's release down. Very nice. And just have a few movements where on the inhales, you're just moving your pelvis minutely forward. And then as you exhale, you're coming back into a little bit of a half split, or maybe some people call this runner's lunge, or runner's stretch rather. Just have a few breaths like that. As you inhale, the pelvis comes closer forward. And as you exhale, you're reaching back. Hips go back and you extend that front leg. And then one more time as you inhale, coming forward with the pelvis. And as you exhale, coming into the extended runner stretch. This time as you inhale, just come into a low lunge, flex your toes under. So the next inhale, you're ready to come into the high lunge again. Very nice. From your high lunge, if all is well, you can put a little more weight into the left hand. And let's inhale the right arm up into a twist. Make sure that right thigh doesn't try to splay out. You're holding it right close into the midline. And slowly exhale the right hand back down again. Very good. And then let's just have a little vinyasa where you're exhaling into a pyramid pose, relaxing the head and neck, and you're inhaling back into the high lunge. So this movement is happening, of course, on your own breath, so just let it be soft and easy. And let your awareness go right into the sensations that this is causing in the body. And of course you're feeling the challenge, of course you are, but just be with it and be with the sensations that are happening. So the next time you've inhaled and you're in a high lunge, if you'll place your hands in the position where you can exhale and come on back into the downward facing dog. Very nice. And maybe have a couple breaths, a little movement in downward facing dog. Maybe sway your hips side to side. Now let's go ahead and now get ready for the other side. So you're exhaling now the left leg back into tripod dog. And the next exhale, you're going to sweep it right under the body. Just see how you go with that. And once you're there, you're going to just drop the back knee, coming into a low lunge. And as best you can, you're going to try to come up a little more vertical with your hands interlocked right behind the front knee. If that's okay, exhaling the arms down so you can sweep them up and reach and create lots of length in the front of the body. And then we're going to exhale down. And just have a little movement here. Remember, when you're inhaling, the pelvis is just trying to come a little forward. But when you exhale, you're going right into that lovely half split. So it's on your own breathing, taking your time, and just feeling that lovely warmth and lubrication that's happening in your joints just with this movement you're doing. Just let yourself have a few repetitions, 3 or so at least. And when you've done that, you want to flex your toes under. Just let yourself come into a high lunge now. And you want to perfect your high lunge. And you know what that means? That means the tummy button is pointing straight down towards the floor. Pelvis is level as it can be. And then when all is well, a little more weight into the right hand so you can inhale the left arm up. Press into that back heel and just enjoy a little bit of this twist for a couple of breaths. Don't let that left knee, it wants to bow out, but don't let it. Really hold it in. And inhaling back down, coming into the high lunge. And then just have a few breaths here where you can exhale into the pyramid pose best you can. Little weight into the ball of the back foot. And inhale, coming back into the high lunge. And exhaling just like that into the pyramid pose. Let your breath be long and slow, and of course, the movement follows your own breathing. Very nice. And inhaling back into the lunge. And preparing now, we're going to send ourselves back to downward facing dog. As you're ready, on the next exhale, left leg comes back to meet the right. And there you are. Little movement here if you can. Maybe bring the heels up, come right up onto the balls of the feet or the tippy toes, and let the feet stretch a little bit. Very nice. And from here, we're all going to walk towards standing. So as you're ready, you can either bring the feet closer to the hands, or you can start to bring the hands closer to your feet, and we're all going to meet in standing. As we're all in standing now, I want you to come into your mountain pose, the best version for yourself. So you should be comfortable. You can put your feet as close together as is comfortable for this. You're pressing down through the heels and through the underneath the big toe socket and the little toe socket, as you're creating a little deeper footprint with that little triangular area on the bottom of your feet. And of course, even just that little movement will start to tone your legs, so you'll feel a little strength in your legs. And again, pressing down through the feet, let yourself get a little taller through the torso. So start to feel this, the forming of Tadasana each and every time. So it becomes alive in your body. And then finally, of course, your breastbone is long, collarbones are broad, crown of the head is pointing towards the ceiling. And let's just have a little breathing vinyasa from here. So that as you inhale next, you're breathing the arms out and up over the head, keeping all of mountain pose in place, reaching when you get there, and exhaling, just coming back down again with the arms, nice and gentle, soft as you'd like. Palms lead the way. Have a couple more breaths like that. Really full, long, slow breaths. Very nice. As you exhale next, and your arms are alongside the torso, just let them stay there. And then you're going to walk your feet slightly wider. So you want at least 2 feet or so between each foot, and the toes can be just slightly turned out just a little bit. So this time in this position, your feet are wide, or toes may be a little spread. And then you're going to inhale the arms straight up over the head. Feel the extension throughout the body. As you exhale, you're going to bend the knees and just sink your hips down. One hand goes on top of the other, and you're coming into whatever version of a squat your body can manage. And you're pressing your hands as if they're trying to press through treacle. So you've even got tone in your arms. Coming down just as low as you can. And when you get there, you're going to inhale and reach back up again. And just do this a couple more times now. As you exhale, bending the knees, you're trying to sink down. Hands, one hand pressed on top of the other, and you're pressing down with a little resistance in the arms. Coming down. Feel the strength in your legs as you come down just as low as you can. And then on the inhale, you're reaching back up again. And then again, exhaling, feeling that strength. The lower you go, the more challenge it is. Coming down. And this time, when you come down as low as you can, I want you to stay there for just a few breaths. You will start to feel the challenge. I want you to really dig in all the way to your heels in this. And then just gently, as you inhale, just lift the heart a little bit, coming back into the heels. And as you exhale, feel that progressive abdominal contraction and look down slightly. And then again, as you inhale, let the heart lift just a little bit, pressing more into the heels. And as you exhale, feel that progressive abdominal contraction as you look down. I know you're really feeling this in your thighs. Who needs weights, right? We can just use our own body weight. When you've had enough, I want you to just like you did before, just press and inhale and come up to standing. And then exhale, release. Very nice. And then from here, if everyone will just face the top of your mat, maybe be a foot or so behind it. We're going to come into a forward bend and just play here a little bit with the energies that are in crow pose. We're not going to actually come into crow pose unless you want to. We're going to play with those energies a little bit so you get all of the benefits of the more advanced pose and just see how you deal with it. So from here, from our mountain pose, just inhale for some extension. You can bring the arms up, straight up. And as you exhale, nice soft knees, hinging at the hip, reaching for the floor. And when you get there, and your hands must touch somewhere. If you want to separate the feet a little bit, it's fine, or you can leave them as they are. Make sure you're comfortable. And then bring your hands maybe just a foot or so further ahead than your feet. So that what you want to do is on the inhales, you want to be able to sink back your weight into the heels and feel lengthening in the backs of your legs. Feel that length. But when you exhale, you want to start coming onto the balls of the feet, bending the knees and leaning a little more weight into your hands as you slightly look forward. So you really want to bend the knees, come onto your tiptoes and feel weight transfer into your hands. So the weight in your hands really wants to be more towards your inner hand. It's a little bit like you're trying to screw a jam jar off with your left hand, a little bit to the left, with your right hand, a little bit to the right. Make sure you've got tone in your arms, right? Okay, and then when you inhale, you're leaning back again into your heels, stretching the back of the legs out, stretching the back of your neck out. Long, slow breaths like this as you exhale, leaning forward into the balls, more into the balls of your feet. Your heels lift off the floor. Bend your knees as much as you need to lean a little more weight into your hands. And inhale, back into the starting position. You want to be able to feel a real stretch in the back, real stretch in the backs of the legs. Just slow your breath down so you've got plenty of time here. Exhaling into the challenge as you bend your knees, leaning into the balls of the feet so you can bring your weight into your hands and arms. And inhale, release. Let's just try this one more time. Enjoy that inhale. Enjoy the stretch in the back of the legs and the back of your neck. And then come on forward. Really feel the point where the weight begins to shift. You can bend your knees, power up in your arms. So isometrically, it's like those upper arms are trying to go closer together. You might want to touch your knees to the upper arms, or maybe not. It's fine either way. And inhale, release, stretch that out. You can even bring your hands a little further ahead to enhance the stretch a little more. Long, slow breaths. You've done great. Bend the knees and come on up safely as you know how to do. Come on back to standing. That's wonderful. And then let's all stand on the wide aspect of our mats so that we can separate our feet a little bit. So you want your feet nice and wide, maybe 3 feet away from each other. Press into the feet firmly so you can get a little length in your torso, and the hands are to the palms are to the sides of either thigh. And when you inhale, when you inhale next, I want you to raise the left arm straight out and up as you rise up onto the ball of the left foot. So the left heel rises off the floor, and you're taking that with your arm maybe at least to center, but maybe you can go even a little beyond center with that. When you exhale, you're leaving everything as it is, except you're dropping the left heel. And just notice what that does, that little internal movement in your body. And then can you reach a little more on the inhales as you go over, trying to really enhance this little side bend. You've got your right hand on the side of your right thigh, just for a little bit of anchoring here, but you're trying to reach over. And remember, your body should feel like it's between two panes of glass. So don't stick your bums out, don't come forward with the chest. It's just a nice clean side bend. And when you come up, press into your feet. You're going to come up on an exhale, tucking that tummy button close into the spine as you rise up. Same thing, second side. As you inhale, you're going to raise the right arm out and up and come up onto the, lift the right heel. Feel the balance challenge and come right over the midline a little bit if you can. As you exhale, just set that right heel back to the floor. Ooh, and you'll feel that little engagement deep inside the body. And then you can inhale and try to enhance your side bend. Remember, let your left hand be your anchor so you're nice and safe in this. And slowly come on out on an exhale. You want to plant your feet firmly and contract your abdomen as you come up. Let's do this a couple more times on either side with your own breathing. So remember, as you inhale, left arm comes up, left heel comes up, a little beyond midpoint. And then you're exhaling, dropping the left heel. And inhaling, coming into your side bend just as much as you can. As you exhale, you're lifting back out of it again. As you inhale, the right arm comes up, right heel comes up. And as you exhale, you're dropping that right heel. As you inhale, you're reaching over. And as you exhale, lifting back out again. Last time. As you inhale, rising up with the left arm, left heel. And exhaling, dropping the left heel. Inhaling, create that lovely side bend. And exhale, come on out. Last one, last side. Inhaling, right arm up, right heel up. And exhaling, dropping the right heel. Inhaling, enjoying that side bend. And exhaling, coming on out. And just a little bit of movement now when you come back to center. Maybe just to keep your legs nice and wide, but just turn a little bit side to side. Let your arms go floppy. Make sure that the spine feels okay after the work you've just done. And now we've got things nice and warmed up, we're going to come into triangle pose. What I want to stress with triangle pose, it's actually not a side bend. It seems like a side bend. It's actually a side strengthener. So what you've just done is warm up those obliques, those side muscles, and we're going to come right into triangle from here. You're nice and prepared for it. So from that stance where your legs are nice and wide, we're going to turn our right toes out to the right. Just slightly, I want you to kick those left heels back. So the back toes are coming a little more towards forward, just a little bit. So remember, in triangle pose, the front leg stays straight, and it can be a little bit tricky. You don't have to have a brick. It's a bit late for me to say this, but if you would like to have one, you can always stop the video and get one. Because you can always just use your shin or your thigh as a resting place. So as you inhale into this position, arms come out to the side. See if you can relax your shoulders a little bit. And when you get ready to come into triangle pose, you want to just pop your back hip back just a little bit and begin the hinging forward at the front hip. So you don't want to just plop it back. You just want to start the process. So all of this is held nice and firm in the side body. And you're reaching at the same time. You're reaching with the torso and the arms, but you're hinging at the hip. And you may not have much. You want to respect the edge. You'll really feel the groin start to pull, and you need to stop when you feel that. So however far you've gotten is fine, but when you exhale and come into position, you just want to windmill down and let your hand touch somewhere. It might be on your your shin. It might even be all the way up here on your thigh, but you want to make sure that you can rest somewhere with that bottom hand. And then, depending on how far you've gone, you might be able to bloom into this pose even more. It requires being able to press downward with the bottom hand and upward with the upward hand. So remember what you're trying to do. You're keeping the bottom side of your waist and the top side of your waist actually quite firm. So it's not a side bend. So don't think of it as a side bend. You're hinging at the hip and keeping the spine actually quite strong. But what you are doing, if the work in the pose just requires that you, when you're ready, gradually begin to turn your heart a little more towards the front. Nice, long, slow breaths. When it's time to come out, just turn your gaze down towards your front toes, bend the front knee, so you come out with the strength of that leg. So a lot of weight into that front heel as you come out. Release and toes back to the front. So we'll come to the other side. Hopefully that'll be the perfect counter pose that you need for whatever you're feeling right now. So now the left toes will point out to the left. And right heel will kick back. Front and back legs are straight. As you inhale, reach your arms out. And when you're ready, you're going to begin just by turning the right side of your hip back a little bit. So it just go, I'm sorry, that's not a perfect way of saying it. This right hip is going straight out to the side. That's all that's happening. So it comes out, so you can begin, you'll feel the hinging at the left hip now. You're reaching, and just reaching. And whenever you feel the stopping point, that's when you just windmill down. Hand must touch somewhere to be really safe. And then you can reach up with the upper arm. You want to feel weight into the back foot as well as the front. So if you put too much weight in the front foot, it will strain around the knee a little bit, or it can do. So you really want to let the legs work evenly. The back foot and leg is doing its job. Reaching up with that upper hand and feeling your heart gradually trying to go a little more towards the front. And when you're ready to come out, remember you just look down at your toes, bend the front knee, come out with the strength of your legs, and release. And then heel and toe, and come on back to the starting point. Just lower your eyes, just have a few long, slow breaths into Tadasana, letting the face muscles relax. You're doing great. And now we're all going to meet on the floor again. So coming back down to the floor, we're going to find our downward facing dog one more time. Promise this is the last one. We're going to try pigeon pose from downward facing dog. So you'll almost certainly need a little bolster. So hopefully you've got your blankets. If you'll take your blanket and put it towards the right side of your mat. Bringing the hands under the shoulders and then one hand length further ahead, and come on into your downward facing dog. And just use every moment that you have in yoga to enhance everything you're doing, just in that moment. So do what exactly feels right to you right now in downward facing dog. And all you have to do now to come into pigeon pose is you can go ahead and enjoy the stretch like tripod dog, but all we're doing, and when we exhale, is you're just bringing the right knee behind somewhere the right wrist in that direction. And so that right shin and foot is coming out towards the left. As you drop your left knee, the foot will be somewhere between the left wrist and the left knee. And you're going to put that blanket where it can bolster your hip as you walk yourself down closer to the floor. You'll know exactly where to place that folded blanket, that little bolster. So what you're trying to do is just to make sure your hips are relatively level. You don't want the right hip quite a bit lower than the left. You want them pretty well squared. This is the beginning pose for pigeon pose. And so let's just have, once you form the pose carefully, you want to have just a couple breaths where you bring your hands nice and close into the body, press into those arms, and lift your torso. You want that back leg to be right at center, so you don't want it over to the side, either side. You want it right at center, center of the kneecap and top of the foot, nice and centered. And you don't have to do this, but if it feels okay, you can bend and extend that back knee a few times. Then we're going to come just briefly into sleeping pigeon. And so on the exhale, walk your hands forward, and you're aiming to release as much as you can towards the floor. And that might just mean on your elbows, and maybe you want to bend the elbows so you can rest your hands, or rather rest your forehead in your hands. And that's fine. And let your breath be long and slow. And just let your body tell you how far to go here. So you might be able to go further. Maybe you can come up onto the doubled hands or doubled fists, but just let yourself internally guide you here. How far do you want to go into pigeon pose? And however far that is, you want to have those long, slow breaths. You're feeling all those sensations. Just let yourself have 3 to 5 breaths. You can probably already tell that you're cooling down, and that's a good thing. But we're going to come out of the pose, back into the starting position one last time. Push into the hands. And then we're going to ease ourselves nice and slowly back out. And we are going to come into downward facing dog on the other side. Or rather, downward facing dog, so we can come into pigeon on the other side. And as you're ready, 3-legged dog. And then on the exhale, you're reaching that left knee towards the left wrist. And you're going to place your bolster the best place you can under your hip, with the idea of keeping those hips and pelvis level. So as you form the pigeon pose on this side, remember you can breathe in and out of a few knee extensions and flexions. And then you want to get the hands nice and close into the body so you can press into the hands and lift your heart. A little bit of an effort there. And then you can release into the more yin aspect of this pose. So let yourself be taken down to the floor just as low as you can comfortably go. And again, you want 3 to 5 long, slow breaths. So just be really present with this process and with your sensations. And then slowly, you're going to come back out after you've had your 3 to 5 breaths. Back into the start, where the torso is nice and vertical as you can get it. And then slowly, you're bringing the leg back. And we're all going to have one final downward facing dog. And just enjoy that stretch. And from there, we all get to come to the floor. So you're going to recline back now. Nice and easy all the way with our backs to the floor. And of course, first you want to stretch out. And just take your time with these movements, bending the knees, soles of the feet to the floor, right knee closer into the body. Interlock your hands just below, or rather above that right shin, and stretch the left leg out. Few breaths here. Sometimes it's a challenge in yoga to let these really familiar poses be new, and the only way to do that is to, again, be really present and stay aware with everything you're doing. That's nice. And then we're going to change legs when you're ready. Just a few breaths and you know what to do. Any little movement you want. Towards the end of this, you're coming to the end and body really wants to cool down now. So just to initiate a little bit of movement now, and twist, widen your feet just a little bit, and let yourself breathe as you exhale, knees to one side. As you inhale, they come back to center. So just have a few breaths like that. So really gauge how that's feeling. You want a few repetitions on each side. But when you feel complete with that, it's from the point where the knees are back to center. Of course, you bring your feet closer together and just have any final little movement you would like before we settle into Shavasana. Just let yourself be nice and comfortable. Make sure you've done everything that your body is asking you to do so that you can release and relax. And then you're going to separate your legs. Bring your arms away from your torso. And just allow the weight of your body to settle into the floor. And just enjoy that sense of heaviness and that sense of accomplishment for having worked hard and gone all the way through this class today. You know, just a little effort here as you inhale. Next, you're trying to really breathe into the abdominal area. So you might feel the navel rise up when you inhale and feel it descend down as you exhale. Just a little more effort as you inhale, raise up with the abdomen. Take that full inhale into your belly. And as you exhale, release it down. Inhale one more time, right into your abdominal area. And exhale, let it go. And then just have a few breaths now where you allow the breath to do whatever it would like to do. So turn yourself over to whatever's happening now in your own body. Let yourself breathe long, slow breaths as you would like to do. No control at all. Just softening and releasing. And just be aware of the weight of your body on the floor. And be aware of your own breath so that you're just observing your breathing pattern. not doing anything to change it. You're just being present with yourself for another few moments. So if you'd like to close out with me, you can come up to a seated posture. Just move nice and slowly, taking everything in. Give yourself that little pause when you come back to seated. And then placing hands to the heart. Namaste. Thank you.